want to see it. You want to be able to see a problem before it becomes a problem down there.
Yeah.
Welcome to Maxed Out Man, helping you become the man you were made to be.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Maxed Out Man podcast. I'm here with Dr. Elliot Justin. Elliot Justin, MD, FACEP. That's a lot of letters. Is the CEO, there's some more, and founder of Firm Tech, the first sex tech company dedicated to improving men's erectile fitness. That's a term I've not heard before, so I'm excited to learn about that. Nice. Hope you trademarked it.
We trademarked the erectile fitness score. We'll get into that in a minute.
All right, we'll get that. He has a background in emergency medicine and healthcare technology consulting. Dr. Justin's also a serial healthcare entrepreneur, having founded and sold Pegasus Emergency Group and Swift MD. He's happily married for 35 years. We were just talking about that. And father of 3 children. Elliot and Ann live in Montana, which is where we are, with 3 energetic mares and a flock of chickens. He's also passionate about trail riding, who sometimes imagined to his wife's chagrin that he is a centaur. Considering we're talking about penises, I'm not sure what that plays with the horse and all that. So I don't know what that's all about. But if you're watching this on video, we are in studio. So Dr. Justin came over. We were actually starting to shoot yesterday, and you're like, "Hey, I'm in Montana, so it's super bright." So I shut these. I'm like, "Well, I'm in Montana too. Where are you at?" And as it turns out, he's 25 miles away from me. So I appreciate you making the drive out here.
Good to be here.
We got a little temporary studio going, and it'll be interesting to see how many times we can say the word cock and penis until I have to mark this as explicit on Apple and Spotify. So, but yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Good to be here. And I wouldn't have been here without the illusion of being a centaur.
Nice.
I can tell that story in just a moment.
Yeah, go ahead. So, like, the big thing that I'm interested, because I'm an entrepreneur too, not healthcare, but I'm interested in like the backstory of how you kind of got here.
Sure.
and why you made the choice to go into something that's technology here. Because obviously you've been in multiple businesses that you've bought, grown, and sold. And so tell me that story.
Yeah. Well, my wife feels that I'm uniquely qualified doing right now because I'm the only doctor she's known whose mother took him to a urologist twice when he was a teenager because she was concerned about his masturbation habits. She felt that I wouldn't get to college basically, and then the first time I went, the urologist cautioned me. He wanted to know when do you stop? And I said, well, when there's blood. He wanted to know about my grades too, and I was a really good student, so they couldn't get me on that on that angle. The second time I went, which is like late in my junior year, the urologist gave me better advice, which was, you'll be free of your mother in 1 year. Just in 1 year and out the other. He told us something else. Anyway, years went by, and I had a successful career in emergency medicine. I think I probably took care of 175,000 people. When I was here in Bozeman, we founded a company called Pegasus Emergency Group. We were in 11 states, and we employed hundreds and hundreds of doctors and nurse practitioners. And when I exited that company in 2015, I was very interested in technology, remote patient management technology. I previously founded a company called Swift MD that's been sold. And second oldest telemedicine company after Teladoc, which is still around. Mm-hmm. And what I really want to do in that sector, though, was to empower people with knowledge that physicians would have and deliver if they weren't motivated by secondary gain. Mm-hmm. By that I mean money.
Right.
So you get in this country and most countries.
So to provide the care that if money wasn't the main motivator and insurance wasn't the main demotivator, right, or driver, yeah, then they would have a different standard.
Yeah, managed care and Medicare essentially don't care. I mean, they don't care whether I employ a physician with 10,000 lawsuits or no lawsuits, whether I employ someone who's just off the boat from the Congo. I think it's Congo. Yeah. It's off the boat versus someone who has 20 years of experience and perfect malpractice record. They don't care about anything. They pay the same amount of money for the same unit of care, regardless of the quality of the service, regardless of the outcome. And that's really screwed up. Yeah. So in this country, as my emergency medicine career progressed, I became aware that about 85% of the problems that we saw in the emergency department are not real emergencies. They're things that people with computers and with this smart device that we all carry, which is smarter than every doctor, 99.9% of the doctors in the world, that with these things, people could solve the common problems without even going to a doctor. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking about ankle sprain, urinary tract infection, low back pain, upper respiratory infection, yeast infection in women. these people go to the emergency department today because they want their one, insurance is going to pay for it, and two, they're we're Americans, we're impatient,
Right.
and our family doctors have to make an appointment, and then you get stuck into multiple appointments.
My daughter's a paramedic in Atlanta. They call those frequent flyers.
Yeah, well, yes, well, they frequent flyers dominate the system.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago, when I was running a 2-county paramedic system in Trenton, New Jersey, and part of this involved Trenton, New Jersey, we had 3 to 7 ambulance runs per night involving women with lower abdominal pain, most of whom were simply seeking a pregnancy test they could trust. Wow. They get the dip urine test, but they didn't trust the blood test. They come to the hospital, the blood test. And paramedics were not allowed to triage patients at the scene and at the home and leave them there. And we can't do that emergency department either. We can't send people home. I'm going to digress for a moment. So many things start with good intentions. And when you have an alliance of good intentions and moneymakers, and then lawyers get involved, you just can't change the system at all. And that's the tragedy of the healthcare system, that we have today. So if people could take care of themselves at home for these common problems with computers, hey, I sprained my ankle. Do I need an X-ray? I have low-grade temp and it's burning when I urinate, et cetera. And we allow them to get X-rays, antibiotics, blood tests for these simple problems, which there are really good algorithms, smaller than any doctors, and less expensive. Then that would totally revolutionize healthcare because it would free up doctors to take care of the really sick people. And doctors often complain that, I don't get to take care of really sick people, but they make the money on. I mean, the number one reason why orthopedic problem why people go to emergency department is ankle sprain.
Really?
And so, and we should be talking about sex, but I'm talking about ankle sprains.
We'll talk about sex.
So here's the one problem that can orthopedic injury that can affect a little bit more men, than women. Well, if you call me up on the phone and said, I think I sprained my ankle, what should I do? What do people most want from doctors? They want advice. Mm-hmm. What do the insurance companies and the government pay for advice? Nothing. So you don't get advice. So if you told me your ankle sprained, well, now where's my incentive? Oh, and by the way, of course, I don't want to miss out of trying to relieve the fracture, but you don't have one. I know that. So in reality, I actually did this on the Today Show years ago. I mean, I was about to say, if you can do this, or if you can take 3 steps in for hobbling, and you're not tender over the fifth metatarsal, you don't need an X-ray. You probably never need an X-ray, but certainly you can wait a few days, put an ice pack on, and take some ibuprofen. Yeah. It doesn't do much good either. But there's no one problem that orthopedic problem that's in the emergency department. The other number one problem is a sore throat in the emergency department. Well, when do you need an antibiotic? Well, there's a triage. There's a triad, rather. Excuse me. If you have fever, eggs in your tonsils, which someone else can see, it's hard to see with yourself, and swollen glands, you have an 85% chance of having strep throat, and therefore you probably take an antibiotic. Mm-hmm. If you have 2 out of 3, it's like 20%. 1 out of 3, it's like down like 1%. So if we empower people with this knowledge, they wouldn't have to go to the ER. They could just, but now we're fast.
And access to antibiotics.
Yeah,
essentially that pharmacists could write. You say, hey, here's mine.
You just call it in. You have your algorithm. Anyway, I presented this type of program made to the point of presenting to committees to 3 state legislators, but and they got nowhere because no one wanted. My point was, well, let's take 1,000 Medicaid people and compare them to 1,000 people with conventional insurance, and let's measure morbidity outcomes at that 90 days, 180 days, and a year. And I'm certain that the people who take care of themselves probably that'd be a lot less expensive, and there'd be no difference in outcomes. But
pharmaceutical lobby. Yeah, that's all you have to say, right?
Well, but it's also the hospital. It's also the prices in medicine in the United States are set by a super committee that meets every 4 times a year. Most people don't know this, and all the stakeholders, that's the word, are at that committee. The hospital association, the nurse association, the AMA is there. By the way, AMA doesn't represent doctors either. I haven't been one for years. And farmers there, various government agencies are there. The one group that's not there is you and me. There's no one representing the people, and we should dominate the committee. The committee should be dominated by people who, frankly, we vote for.
Representatives,
right? But that's we're just dreaming. And when it comes to I'll swing this back to sex because that's my area now. when it comes to sex, it's much the same thing. Well, we have the ability right now to deliver data-driven care. That's what FemTech's really about, and as well as enhancing pleasure. But I got into this for data, to deliver data-driven care for men and soon for women. And I can tell you, it's a struggle to get this accepted. It'll be 2 or 3 years before we even can get an insurance code, to cover this. So right now, when it comes to sex, I'll look like you and I. We know at different ages. I'm 71. How old are you?
51.
You're 51. You're a young guy. So, and you look really fit. I don't look as fit as you, but yeah. I'm fit.
Yeah.
If we both went to a doctor, and said, when I work out, my pulse races and I feel faint, and even when I'm at rest right now, my pulse really feels like it's pounding. And the doctor just put his hand on our pulse and said, "Yeah, you're right. Your pulse is really, I just had you jog around the office. Your pulse is really fast, and God, it's really strong. I think that you have a heart arrhythmia and high blood pressure. Here, take these 2 pills and come back in 3 months." We would think, what the fuck is this? 1900? Was it some episode of Yellowstone from like 1883? We would expect an electrocardiogram, have blood pressure cuff in the office of your doctor, take my blood pressure, blood tests, monitoring tests, et cetera. And when it comes to urology, that's what they're giving out pills on the basis of speculation and pharma reporting, and they are, and maybe here in Bozeman and most places in this country, our family doctor would send us off to urologists, and the urologist would ask us no questions about our sexual health. There's no.
So what is the primary?
They get a Doppler because they make money on a Doppler. Go ahead.
Well, what do urologists primarily do? Right? Like, if you say ear, nose, and throat, I've got a pretty good idea of what they do. When you say urologist, in my mind, think I know what they do, but
They basically mind doing surgery.
Okay.
So, prostate cancer is a problem, but it's a tiny problem in comparison to the number of men who have erectile dysfunction. So, again, these are guesses in my head, but I'm guessing there are probably 150 to 200,000 prostate cancer surgeries that are done every year in the United States. And then there's probably similar number of transurethral that are done because men have benign prostatic hypertrophy. They don't have cancer, but they have an enlarged prostate.
Right.
That's one.
BPH.
Right, BPH. You got it, right. But 50% of men over the age of 50 have ED, meaning they report four or more episodes. I've got the time from it. It's maybe last 90 days, 60 days, of erectile dysfunction. Well, it's a huge problem. Now, I'm guessing that, and I'd say I throw this out to anyone on the show here. Does your doctor ever ask you about your sexual health? Does your doctor ever ask you about your marriage or a major partnership in your life? It could be whether you're straight or gay. No. Did they ever warn you about sexual side effects of medication? Hey, if you take this blood pressure pill, it might affect your dick. Or I'm going to treat your BPH you mentioned before, but I got this flow medicine, but it's probably going to affect your sexual performance. No, sex, which is so important to everyone, is like the least important body part. So several things. In electronic health record, the 2 big ones being Epic and Allscripts. I would guess that 95% of the people who listen to your show, their doctor's using one of these 2 systems. There are no questions about sexual health. So if you or I went to that doctor and said, "I got chest pain," they got a whole list of questions that the computer's telling them, "Hey, moron, answer. You need to answer." But we ask like 10 out of these 15 questions, and then when you ask those questions, the computer tells you, if you assume that "Hey, I just want to give you a pill." No, don't be an idiot, Elliot. You can't just give a pill. You got to rule out pulmonary embolus. You got to rule out dissecting aneurysm. You have to rule out a whole bunch of problems. There's no sexual health component to electronic health record. So let's think about that. We have, if we know that men, probably true for women too, who have sex every day have cortisol levels that average about half the general population. Well, that's a stress hormone. That's, that should lead every doctor to say, "Hey, have sex every day." What else? So the big study of the United Kingdom, out of Wales, in the United Kingdom, showing that men over the age of 70, we're controlling risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, smoking. If they have sex twice a week, versus men who don't have sex, they cut their cardiac risk by half. Now you're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
But and then there's, we live in an age where we have a disastrous divorce rate, with horrible impact not just on the people who get the mental health people who get divorced, but on the children,
Mm-hmm.
and on the children's education, on the children becoming criminal, and the children getting involved with drugs. Well, couples that have sex twice a week versus couples that have sex twice a month have half the divorce rate. So we should be right as doctors. We should be writing prescriptions.
And that divorce rate, actually, it's interesting because it climbs as you get older, which means, which is also related.
That's right.
Correlation versus causation, right? There's all that argument, but this evidence would be pretty strong to say as men get older and women are going through, we've been learning a ton about perimenopause. My wife is also 51, that it lasts for 10 years and, all that. Yeah. Right. Testosterone. Yeah.
It's so
100%.
Stupid. My wife is 7. She doesn't mind my talking about this. We're just that kind of family. And my daughter has a sign in her room that says, "If you knew my parents, you'd understand." And people have told me, "Hey, don't you have any filters?" No, I have filters. They have big bores. So it's important, but it's important to speak about these things. So, I got
a funny story about that real quick.
Go ahead.
So I'm telling, we have a big family chat. I've got 2 adult kids, 26, 24, and then their significant others are in our family chat. So Mom, Michelle, my wife, sent a text to everybody saying, "Hey, this is the guy that your dad is interviewing on his podcast tomorrow." And so I get a response from the daughter-in-law that said, talking about cock rings with my in-laws was definitely not on my bingo card for this month.
That's actually part of the problem, though, right there. In a way, it is.
But it's not unexpected that we would have that conversation because we're very open with that kind of stuff.
Well, we have in-laws who don't even want to talk about what I do. Or my wife is in the business with me as well too. So it's like that's your wife, but it's kind of it's weird. Anyway, so the point being that what doctors are doing, gynecologists in this case, for women is it took them like 25 to 30 years to recognize that we can replace hormones postmenopausal women without producing more cancers.
The Women's Health Initiative. I mean, know the story how that basically just destroyed women's health for the last 30 years, right? Yeah. Like I'm bringing on Michelle's doctor, who is a hormone specialist. Right. We're going to do an episode and talk all about that kind of stuff.
Because if you're going to replace women with their estrogen and progesterone, what about replacing their T? Mm-hmm. And there's this whole sort of fear with men as well too. We can talk about T for men later on because I didn't know anything about it 2.5 years ago. I know a lot about it now. And I know a lot about that's subjective. Yeah. It's not that, hey, I took T and I feel stronger. But the women who, it's concerned that, if a woman takes T, she'll get a mustache. Well, just fucking get a mustache overnight. It's like you'll wake up like 8 in the morning. If it's dose related and it's not irreversible. If a woman starts, and I've now I don't prescribe a lot of T because it's not my area, but I do prescribe it to some women because they feel like they can't get it from there. Or they don't want to have a conversation with it.
Well, it's still off label. Michelle, actually, we're doing HRT right now.
Right.
And she's been having a lot of injuries. She lifts weights. We lift weights. Right. The 2 of us. We've done it for forever. She's been getting a lot more soft tissue injury, which is related to T levels in most cases, that, recovery and soft tissue and muscle and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start on testosterone. Well, and by the way, she gets a year's worth of testosterone for $100.
Where are you getting it from?
It's that gel. There's a gel, the gel, but it's off label. The doctor's like, well, technically, I'm not even approved to prescribe this for women.
My wife's experience and the other women I prescribed to is almost all injectable because my wife has a couple other women I prescribe to. They just find the gels to yuck. They got to smear the gels every time.
Well, she's trying them. We'll see how it goes. I inject. But if I do TRT. So
yeah, because I take testosterone as well too. But so does my wife. My wife's reaction to testosterone was, why didn't I know about this 20 years ago? Because I spent the last, probably from men, not beyond menopausal, real postmenopausal, 50s up to age 70s. That's 15 years of her life where we make love a lot. And but it would be me initiating to, and with her, like, if I get turned on, I'll get into a kind of mindset. And again, these type of conversations that people really should have.
Yeah.
People don't like having these conversations.
Yeah.
This is real. And
ask a 55 or 60, 70-year-old woman, when was the last time you were horny?
Yeah.
That's right. It would be like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
And now my wife was horny.
Yeah.
So took a while to get the right dose. And when the dose is a little bit too high, I thought it was great. But it was interfering with our driving. I mean, Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving, we're driving out to visit friends down in Wyoming. And when was the last time we had sex while driving? I mean, it'd been a long time, and it was fun, but also dangerous. So I
not recommended, but I can contest to that.
Right. But now my wife has desire. She has desire. Now it's not like when she was 20, but it's there, and she enjoys it, and I enjoy it as well too.
Awesome.
A lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk more about with her doctor about perimenopause and how long it lasts and what a disservice Michelle's been like going through all this stuff for 10 years, but HRT's the devil. Right, it's going to kill you like next week.
You get cancer right away.
You're just going to die.
You'll turn into a guy.
Right. Well, what is erectile fitness? Like,
sure.
Let's, obviously I know about other kinds of fitness, but this,
I invented that phrase. Why? Because it occurred to me, in the course of developing this business, that there are certain words that we use to describe women. When you were a toddler, I'm a lot older than you. Back in the 70s or 80s, women were still being described as anorgasmic, frigid, cold. It was negative. And the feminists, largely for the best, drove that out. And also then along came vibrators to make things a lot easier for women. Hysterical was not the word that was used. And it occurred to me that all the words used to describe men, because we get dumped on, are negative. Limp dick, impotent, noodle dick, it's all, and women, so I want to talk about men's issues positively, because a lot of what we're doing, a lot of what we're doing are on the diagnostic side. They're diagnostic aids, and on the performance pleasure side, you can call them aids, but why don't we call them enhancers?
Yeah.
We don't call women's vibrators crutches. Hey honey, get the crutch out tonight. It's not just unacceptable,
right?
To do that, and men, and culturally, we need to talk about things more positively. So before there's dysfunction, there's fitness.
Mm-hmm.
We are all, even people. I'm not healthy. I have no medical class, and you're really healthy too.
Yeah, I know you're the doctor.
But we're all on the road though, from fitness to dysfunction.
Right.
And we all, even men as fit as you, or myself for that matter, I don't technically have ED, but I really actually do, because we all develop, at some point, we develop venous leak syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I can get that in a moment. So, but on this road, we're lost. We don't know where we are. There's no dashboard. We can't look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's
There's no red light down there.
Right. Or yellow light saying
yellow light, right?
And, you look really fit out here on the outside, because one of the
thankfully we don't look like Rudolph.
Right. one of the things we always say in the ER is eat right, stay fit, die anyway.
Yeah.
So we're on this road so if we could find out where we are, we could then make a U-turn, or we could then look under the hood and see what's wrong with our engine, to continue the analogy. So that's what the tech ring by FirmTech does. We are allowing men to objectively assess their sexual health, and to assess the impact of real pandemics. I mean, you and I don't have these issues: obesity, diabetes, hypertension, metabolic disorders, atherosclerosis. They're talking about more than half the adult population there, and then there are the medications that doctors often prescribe with good intentions, but that can make things worse. Antihypertensives and antidepressants being the two big cock and clit killing categories. And then on the positive side, potentially positive side, you can measure the impact of things that may or may not make things better. They being I'm not talking about sexual health, supplements, shockwave therapy, P shots, plasma shots, stem cell injections, all these sort of experimental things, Botox injections, that men who were looking for a solution to their to their dysfunction, or who want to sustain their fitness. I want to, it's you can't go to the gym and get a dick that's equal to your body.
Right.
You can't because the sexual health.
I mean, you get kicked out if you're trying to use the machines.
You might tear something off.
That's right.
It's because it's smooth muscle function,
right?
And the way you exercise smooth muscles is by using it. So if you or I both decided to fast because we're really depressed about what's going on in our country right now, and we fasted for 3 weeks, then went to a steakhouse downtown and ordered a T-bone and a liter of beer, whatever.
Yeah.
We would get sick. We throw it up because smooth muscle and gastrointestinal system is atrophied.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had colon patients, so they're really customers. I've had several men who have been abstaining from sex. They're in good physical condition. They're divorced or their wife died, and they meet someone else and they want to do sexual activity, but they've atrophied. So it
is a use it or lose it situation, right?
And if you don't have a partner, you got hands.
Yeah.
And
there are other devices,
right?
Right?
There are other devices too, right? So it is use it or lose it, and so we're trying to provide men with data so they can assess these things objectively. And the great thing about our technology is we want to, because this is at home and privacy technology. This isn't go to a lab, sleep lab, go to your doctor. This isn't your doctor treating you as if you're like everyone else. Because one of the great errors of medicine, with good intentions, is we treat everyone's one size fits all.
Right.
So again, if you and I, we're in different ages, different conditions, help hold your wife and get my wife in here too, different genders. But if we all went to a doctor and said, hey, I'm depressed, and the doctor said, put us on some crappy SSRI medication, it'd be the same fucking dose, regardless of differences in weight or age. It might be a little difference if a woman's really lightweight, but basically the same dose. Or same thing with blood pressure medicine. Well, what you really want to do is follow things on a daily basis to see, for at least when you start a medication, to see what the impact is. So for myself personally, because I'm in this startup, and maybe probably because I'm a little older, back in October last year, my blood pressure started going up. So I started taking lisinopril, common starter blood pressure medication for a man my age. Well, my dick got 15% less harder. Well, why would I? So I couldn't. It wasn't apparent to me. Your dick goes from here to here.
Right.
You don't really know.
Yeah.
If it's 50%, you start to get your attention. But why would I take something that's interfering with the blood flow? My penis. What other parts of my body is interfering with the blood flow too? And et cetera. So I stopped taking it. I switched to losartan, and that's it. I'm going to go back to blood pressure moment, because even though I want to talk about sex, so many men have high blood pressure, such a big problem. So I started on losartan, and then a thought occurred to me that on the sexual side with the tech ring, we now become an N of one. In medical terms, like number of subjects,
right?
Because we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
So just wait, and I want to talk about T in just a moment, but we're not going to be an N of one. So I thought, okay, I'm an N of one. Let me start taking my blood pressure first twice a day, then once a day, then once every other day, and realize that my blood pressure is only up like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I don't really, so why would I take a pill? If I have blood pressure in the morning, why would I take a pill with my blood pressure normal?
Yeah.
And have it go lower? What does that, doesn't make, it's often a waste of money. It doesn't make any sense physiologically.
Right. There's no reason to manipulate that system that is not really broken. Right.
Correct. Right. And so that's, so when it comes to sex, men you can be an N of one. So for example, a lot of men taking PD5 medications with Viagra and Cialis, tadalafil, the most common ones. Well, what's the right dose for you? I noticed
3 milligrams, 6 milligrams.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
5? Right. Is it 10? Is it 20? Do I need it? Is it even having an impact?
Yeah.
So, we did a study, because most men's problem, and this is one thing, one of the basic questions that a doctor or a urologist or a man should be asking themselves if they're concerned about ED, the sexual health, is, well, is my problem that I can't attain an erection? Or is my problem that I can't sustain an erection?
Yeah.
If a man, and the doctors don't even ask that question. That should be like an electronic health record. Before you prescribe Viagra, before you recommend someone get a Doppler test, what's the issue?
I've been super blessed to be able to feed into the lives of tons of men from all around the world and all walks of life. And I'm very excited to announce that I do have a couple of spots available right now. If you're interested in working with me, and we can talk about pretty much anything: marriage, business, fitness, parenting, being a dad, dogs, cars, whatever you want to talk about, I'm available to do that. We want to focus on the things that may be most beneficial to you and some things that you may not even know would be beneficial to you. If you are interested in working with me, I want to try to make it as simple as possible, but I also want to make sure we're a good fit. Send an email to coaching@maxoutman.com and just give me 2 pieces of information: why you would like to work with me and what that might mean for you, what things you would hope to accomplish by meeting with me. That'll kick off the process. I'll reach back out to you. We can jump on a call and see whether or not it would be a good fit. So go to coaching@maxoutman.com. Send me an email with those 2 pieces of information, and we'll see if it's a good fit. And I hope it is, and I hope that we can actually connect. Because it may be you're good to go when you start, but then if you decide to spend some time in other foreplay or pleasuring her or whatever, right, then it goes away, right? Well, and it's more difficult to get it back, or whatever. I'm
certain when you and I, look, when I was 13 years old, I could hold a girl's hand and have a hard on for an hour and a half. I love my wife. That ain't happening anymore.
Yeah.
And that gets into the Venus League thing. But if a man can't attain erection, that man, and that's a consistent problem, not just like with, I can't get up with her. It's like, I just can't get it up. If you can't get it for yourself, right. When your hand tells you, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm retired. So that man not only needs to see a urologist, that man needs to see a cardiovascular specialist, because the most common cause of bacterial dysfunction is cardiovascular disease, and so one of the risks that men take is by going out and getting pills is they could be masking the problem. So, but most of those problems is they get an erection, they lose it, and that's multifactorial. For young guys who are dating, or even older guys who are dating, it's usually performance anxiety. And the number of guys that, I easily 15, 20 guys a year, no exaggeration, about 10 guys a year that I prescribe PD5 medications to are guys your age on up. They are divorced, or they're sometimes with their wife, and they start dating people who are 15, 20 years younger than them. And when I write the prescription, it's like, in a month from now, you're not going to need this. If this relationship is good, you're not going to need it. Because once there's trust in a relationship, somehow the problem magically goes away. Because the problem was not that they needed the pill. The pill's for here. The pill is treating their head. So I've got guys who tell me that the pill works when it's in their wallet or on their night table.
Right. Well, and there's some research with even younger guys now getting issues because of the dopamine response to pornography and like kind of crazy stuff. I don't know if that's...
I don't know if I bother. I can talk about porn too, but most men, the PD5 medications, men need to understand this. They put blood in the penis.
Okay.
But do they keep it there? And they don't keep it there very well. So that's the problem. So if you already can get an erection and you don't have diabetes or hypertension, you get an erection, PD5 medications, they'll help a little bit. But what you really need is a mechanical solution. So I didn't understand. I got involved at first in the technology aspect of this, helping men make their sexual performance objective, and then being able to measure interventions and diseases against that. But then it occurred to me, I played around with cock rings since I was a kid, probably, early adolescent. And they never really interested me. They needed these hard silicone rings. They pinched, they're uncomfortable. But in order to count the number of nocturnal erections that men have overnight, I had to reinvent the cock ring. So cock rings in my mind went from being, a novelty, you can get in a local sex toy store and throw out after you use it once or twice, to I had to come up with something that is going to be comfortable, that's going to be safe to wear for long periods of time. And that thinking went into the tech ring. And tech ring is made out of, I brought one here for you. It's present. But you should know your data. Your wife can help with this, by the way. It helps have an assistant. So that's the tech ring.
Interesting. Well, you demonstrate.
This is a sample here. I'm going to leave this with you. This is a sampler, so you have to go online to get the instructions. There's a little instructions there. There's a sensor in here. A sensor in here. You drop it. It doesn't go down the shaft. You drop the balls in, and it wraps around.
Okay. So it almost clips on, right?
Yeah. Right. And the idea for this, I owe to my wife. So for how it goes on, because there it is. a scratching wise, I'd say probably. Oh God, some guy used this phrase on me today, and it always makes me laugh because it feels so political. The guy was on marketing was talking about heteronormative sex. Okay. Right. Okay. As opposed to, well, gay sex. Why do we say heteronormative? It's a mouthful,
Yeah.
I don't know about your wife. My wife likes to have her back scratched when a bra comes off at night, especially in the summer.
Yep.
Because bras are uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And bras have a silicone panel on the back, and silicone pinches. And we all have seen women, adjusting this because it's, it just starts to, to pinch on the skin a little bit. So I was scratching her back, and I looked on the floor at her bra, and I said, "Oh,
it's a hook.
It's a hook. What's a cock ring? What's a bra? A bra is a ring that goes on over the head, close to the hook. Why are we making cock rings out of these hard silicone rings? You got to pinch, snap around, uncomfortable. Got to dig
Make sure you don't snap
it
too hard,
right? And as soon as you come, you want the thing off right away because it's painful. So that's the idea for that form. And then after coming up with that, my thought was, well, how can I realized that if men lose their erections as they get older, even if they're healthy, I'm certain that like I said, when you were young, I'm certain when you held a girl's hand, you get hard for a long time. I'm certain you like the wife, but this doesn't happen anymore, right? You don't walk around with an erection downtown when you're shopping, supermarket, holding your wife's hand, right?
Yeah,
And why is that? Because it's multifactorial, but one of the reasons is that as we get older, the smooth muscle around our small veins and the vessel becomes stiffer, and the smooth muscle gets weaker. As you comment, I'm fairly fit. I've always been lean. But if I sit on a plane for 4 or 5 hours, my socks get a little bit tight. That might even be a little mark on my socks. My rings might get a little bit tight, especially if I fall asleep in an office. Well, that didn't happen to me when I was 25 years old. Did it happen to you when you were 25 years old? No. Because you were fit then in a way because you were smooth muscle fit, if you will.
Right. Yep.
So that's just part of the aging process. Now it's diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, these things, obesity, these things can make it worse. So my thought was, well, it's highly likely that all men now, not just men with ED, but men without ED, all men would benefit from a mechanical solution that would address venous leak, and that's a cock ring. So 2 points I want to make. One, the medical community calls cock rings constriction rings. What's fuck? That's like a Nazi term. A constriction ring.
That does sound like a torture device.
Right. Imagine if you have ED. It's like, constriction ring. I don't know. So I call them erection rings, or cock ring. Women. One of the issues, women have even more difficulty, if you will, holding blood in the clitoris as they get older. And there are hormonal issues, there are medical issues, etc. But one of the issues is mechanical form. Men, blood goes into our dicks, and our penis is surrounded by epidermis. Blood can't go anywhere.
Right.
Women, premenopausal women, put as much blood into their clitoris when they're having sex as men put into their penis. Where's it going? Now, I didn't know this until think about this. I'm a doctor, and I've only met one doctor who knew this, and she's obsessed with sex. But most of vaginal secretions are a transudate from the clitoris. Now, I've always assumed that there are mucus-producing glands. Now, there are mucus-producing glands on the outside of the vagina, and there are some along the urethra, the G-spots, etc. But that mucus mixes with a transudate, which is serum, blood serum from the clitoris. It's kind of mind blowing because the clitoris is not surrounded by epidermis.
Oh,
like
interesting.
Penis.
Yeah,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, and if you look at the actual diagram now of what they've learned, how large the clitoris is, and the amount of material that it, it's a large.
So why do vibrators help women? So obviously there's neurological stimulation. That's a big part of it. But vibrations also increase blood flow, sustain blood flow.
Yeah.
So vibrators are great for, frankly, all women, but especially for postmenopausal women, because they're stimulating, increased blood flow.
Yeah. And I will say, I like to make the point that it is not a replacement for, like, if you're a dude and you have some sort of anxiety or whatever about this, right? It's not a replacement for you. It's a tool to assist in bettering your sexual relationship, right?
Well,
like that's what it's for.
In my lifetime, vibrators have gone mainstream, and cock rings haven't. And cock rings need to go mainstream for men. Men need to get beyond it. So, my mother's vibrator was my kid in the way in a supply cloth in the body, bottom dress, bra and drawer. I don't know how. God knows about my parents' sex life. I don't know how many my wife owns. Back in the 70s or 80s, before you were sexually active, or just starting, there was a certain shame for women. Oh, she's vibrator dependent. You got to come penetrate. That's gone now. Most cultures. A daughter takes them on dates. They give them away at bachelorette parties. It's just mainstream, and I certainly don't. If my wife wants to use a vibrator while we're having sex, I'm great. I wish I had something equivalent.
Yeah,
right. Because we don't. Because men don't. So my thought was, how can I enhance men's sexual pleasure? And 90% of gay men use cock rings regularly. 10% of straight guys do. What is it they know that we don't know? Well, cock ring can hold more blood in the penis. The more blood is held in the penis, the more sensitive the penis is. But these silicone rings are uncomfortable. And my thought was, guys got strokers, but they're kind of like something to beat someone to death with. They haven't put on. What about putting the right amount of pressure over the urethra to prolong the ejaculation? Not to choke it off, but to prolong the ejaculation. So we experiment on 11 men here in Bozeman. You could have been one test subjects that we know each other. 11 men, age 28 to 70, I was the oldest one, with the goal of coming up with the right, here it is, it's called the maximum performance range. I'm going to give you this as well, too. So this is a little bit tighter than this, less stretch in this ring. So
this is the data gathering.
That's it. It's a good cock ring because you can put it on, you can tighten it up around the shaft, and then once you're dead, you loosen it up overnight, so it's more comfortable. This was designed to increase the ejaculatory phase by 50%.
Okay.
So my ejaculatory phase with this goes from 4 seconds to 7 seconds, and we had one of the youngest guy in the group went to about 10 seconds from about 4.5 seconds. So
that's like from the point of no return to
you're
done.
You're done.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but I want beyond when you're done. I'll get that in a second.
Okay.
So, I never use cock rings regularly, and I don't have sex without a cock ring. Specifically this one, not the one I'm giving you, but the same model. Yeah.
Let's spray that down.
But and my wife said you're a foreplay because guys are easiest. Just toss it out. It's like, you ready? Stop working. I guess I'm ready. Goes the computer. Oh God, it's like
yeah, that's right. On-off switch.
I don't even answer that email, and I just could wait till tomorrow, and let's go.
I was talking to somebody that a lot of times guys are considered on-off switches, and it's like depending on your age and where you're at, it could just be an on. Right?
Yeah,
like it just.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, but you can't accomplish anything when you have that.
That's right.
Sexuality. Yeah. I really think it was not until probably my early 40s that I actually began to accomplish things in business because my sex drive was tempered, if you will, with age. Anyway, this is dynamite. So this is our most popular seller. Because it makes sex better for whether you have ED or don't have ED. So this is an enormous confidence builder as well too. So again, we're back to your problem is you get an erection, you lose it. Well, at my age, I'm married 36 years now, there are certain positions that bore me. People don't like to talk about this, but boredom is a huge factor in a relationship. And people don't, oh, you're bored, you don't like me. It's just, no, let's talk about it. There, I don't know how many kids your wife has had. How many kids?
Two.
We've had 3. There are certain physical changes of the vagina that make it less attractive in certain positions, but I don't get the friction that I want. And
there are certain positions that if it's lasting too long, go to that position, take care of it.
Right. Yes, yeah. Right.
It's like, right. Hey, we got somewhere to be.
Right. It's 4 a.m. You're physically fit, but at some point, the cardiovascular, like
yeah, that's right.
Even your heart
get my blood pressure
right.
cuff out, right?
So, and what's great about this is once I hear about this we have hundreds of testimonies about this from guys of all ages. Once you get turned on, if something happens that might turn you off, and it could be, missionary position for me is like boring. And my wife likes it. Well, if I have the ring on, hey, and I have a hard on, a guy with a hard on thinks very differently than a guy who's worried about losing his hard on.
That's right.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, the first time you'll relate to this here in both. When I came up with the prototype, which was the year ago, February, my wife in the middle of sex, and I don't know about your wife, but a lot of guys have this complaint. I have this complaint. My wife acknowledged it, which is somehow in the middle of really passionate sex, you start talking about something else, like something happened with your mother, something happened with one of the kids, or something else. Like, and look, I'm a guy and I have a temper. My reaction after many years of marriage would be, "What the fuck?" You can't hold on to that thought for like 30 seconds or how about 5 minutes, because it wouldn't be good for both of us. But now I'm angry, irritated. So my wife says to me, February, "Oh, I think I left the garage door open and the door of the house. It's snowing." I said, "No, I know your marriage, but I assume your marriage, like most marriages, it's not my wife who's going to jump out of bed, close the garage door, close the house door, and come up with a hey, let me blow you makeup look on her face." I don't know. Maybe you have the kind of marriage. If you have that kind of marriage, I'm jealous. Okay, but I doubt it.
29 years for us. So.
Yeah. So it's so I get out of bed and I'm irritated because it would have been I would have been in a better mood about it 10 minutes later. The rear door of her car is open because she's been taking stuff out of the car. I close all the doors. But by now I'm realizing that even though I'm irritated, I haven't lost my erection. Because I have the prototype of this ring on. No, I'm not fully hard. But I'm like that hard. I'm coming up the house and she says, "Hey, Elliot, you know that añejo, the tequila I like? He put some on ice for me." Now, ordinarily, that would have been another WTF explosive moment. Like, get your own effing, when I make love, I'm angry. Sleep on your side of the bed. But I come upstairs tequila, and my wife says, "Well, the garage door was open, but the tequila was a test." And she was right because I'm a guy who's 75% hard. Okay, well, let's get back into it. And that's we make love with this ring about twice as long as we did before, because there's no longer this rushed orgasm because we both know that, and it increases her confidence as well as my confidence. We both know that we can get distracted. We can even just kiss and have foreplay and just get back into it. We can edge each other. Just been, I don't know what's going on about this, but it's been a game changer for us in our marriage and many other people's.
Well, it's another good point though, because I think so many men, like, that's the goal, right? Orgasm, like this is the only reason, right? And really, for someone like us, you've been married 6 more years than me, but it's
intimacy.
Yeah, it's like intimacy and connection, and that's the whole thing that they say about guys, right? Like, it's all you care about is that. No, like, that connection is a big part of it, a huge part of it.
Well, there's another thing about this ring, which is that we did a comparison of this ring after climax to 10 milligrams of Cialis, the number one prescribed PD-5 medication in the United States. So here I was interested in studying and again, this is one thing that's so revolting about healthcare system. We men all really care about sex, and you have no data. I mean, we're about to publish in 2 weeks to our base. What's the average number of nocturnal erections per night by age? 25, 35, 30. No one has the data that's out there is based upon a study of like 200 guys in the 1990s. We've documented close to 45,000 erections. We have data about how long most guys last, and we're gonna publish this over the course of the year. That's really so you can then compare yourself. Where am I? But we're getting back to the D2 message. D2 message, the time it takes from climax to be unable to penetrate again. Now, you've been married a long time, so it's the case for me as well too. I don't need to stay hard because it's wife always comes first. That's the way it is in most successful marriages, right? So that's probably come third too.
There's like right. If you're doing it right, there's a pre and then a post and then sometimes during. And
right.
I
don't get to come. I have managed with this ring to come twice in 90 minutes in the last year. That hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah, that refractory period.
That's a long time. I know that's we can talk about it later on. I have an idea about it. But with this, so with nothing, it wasn't this study, we had 21 men in the study. The average erection went down in like around 30 seconds because the men ranged from 28 to 70. With 10 milligrams of tadalafil, the most common pill out there, it was a little bit over 2 minutes. With this ring, the max PR, it was a little over 4 minutes, and with the two together, it was a little over 5 minutes. So the takeaway here for men is, hey, you want to maximize your performance? Put a ring on it and take a pill. The ring is better than a pill, and that's a game changer for urologists because their whole doctors don't think about it. They don't know shit about cock rings. They're thinking about pills.
Because the idea would be the point of no return, orgasm, and then there's a hypersensitivity, but then not long after that,
you're still hard.
You're okay,
but think about
and you can continue,
right?
Because during that hypersensitivity phase, you're like, all right,
that's right. But that's not it doesn't last so long.
But a few seconds.
But if it's still hard, I mean, sometimes my wife uses it to come again. But it's more of an you touched on something that's really important to talk about because again, younger guys they're growing up in a transactional world. They're not thinking about romance. My generation talked about making love. Mm-hmm. Your generation too.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about having sex.
Hooking up. Yeah. Hooking up
or having sex. You have sex? My daughter, like, I'm just got engaged. Like, I asked her, what do your friends talk about? Did you ever use the phrase making love? And I can't see the blank look in her face. It's like that's just not how they think about it. But a guy with a hard on thinks differently. So I'm still hard after I come, comfortably hard, not with some uncomfortable cock ring, pinching me. We're now talking. It's more romantic, more intimate, more bonding, and more. And it's valuable for
this oxytocin and like all of those are kind of because you're not trying to pull the thing off and
you got it
all of that kind of stuff. So it allows you to stay in that moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's hard to quantify that, but that's been really quantifying in terms of the amount of time. That's objective. That we know. So and that's I think that most men who have anxiety or worried about their performance, the first thing they should do is get a ring. There are no side effects of the ring.
Yeah.
There are no contraindications that take to a ring. But that's there. It's gonna. That's pharma. If you go back to the original Viagra papers, Viagra placebo was 40% as effective as Viagra. Viagra was like marginally more effective than nothing. But they threw a lot of money behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, because and if they could come up with one for women, they would make a ton of money too.
Yeah.
Because there's not that equivalent, right? I do want to talk about testosterone.
Sure.
You put, I'm on TRT. I had actually a motorcycle accident.
Me too. Go ahead.
I had a motorcycle accident in the late 90s and actually I've told this story before. I don't know if I've told it on the podcast, but I left a dent in my gas tank with my left testicle. So literally just fractured it.
Right.
Yeah. So, this was pre-kids, so I'm fine there. But my assumption, so when I got my T tested, I was probably 46, 47, maybe 40. It was like 240. It was, low. And I felt like crap and gained, I work out and I'm still gaining body fat and all this stuff.
So you had testosterone with a 70-year-old man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and of course you look at the data, it's like, well, 300 is the normal, right? That we get. I've talked about that on the podcast, right. How that whole,
what the fuck is normal? Go ahead.
Yeah. What's normal, what's not normal. But so I have a mechanical reason, I believe, for low testosterone, right? And so I've been on testosterone for a while. My normal, like I feel good, it's about 1,000, my free testosterone. And so I'm curious, like how all that plays in and how you're, going through it. And I also want to ask you, along those lines is if you've got someone that's 300 pounds, eats like crap, smokes, like what do you do? Like, obviously all these things also need to be fixed, right? Like first of all, if you can't see your penis, it's time to stop eating.
Well, it's easy to put this one on because it closes with a hook. So if you look down,
if you have to lift anything up in order to see your penis, there's probably a problem. And so, and everybody's got their own journey, right? I say that on here, but because there's a health, like you take someone, if I come in and talk to you about this, right, you're going to be like, well, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I'm fit, all these things. So then that allows you to isolate
Yes, it's
this
easier to
thing,
take care of.
right? It's easier versus like, all right, this guy has this laundry list of health problems. What do you do as a physician and as a, with this technology? Like, what's your approach? And then, talk about that and tea at the same time.
Well, when it comes to obesity, smoking, excessive alcohol, drug use, that's to use an old-fashioned word, these are vices, and it requires significant self-control for a person to get a handle on them if they're susceptible or they develop really bad habits by vices. And so when it comes to things like blood pressure, though, or picking the right medicine or picking the right antidepressant or figuring out whether tea works for you, then this device is really valuable. So, this device is not going to tell me anything. I can't. Someone's not knocking his tech ring, and we have people who we do know with one very small study that actually people who eat high glycemic meals have less nocturnal blood flow at night.
Interesting.
And that's interesting.
It'd be interesting to study processed foods and versus whole foods and all that. But
I wish if someone would
good luck getting the grants on that.
Someone give me a couple $100 million. I'm happy to set up a nonprofit. I don't get any money from this, but because there's so many things because we now have a way of making it objective. Because we need to be open-minded. It could be that eating Twinkies maybe is good for your dick. I don't know, but maybe a Twinkie a day is what but I doubt it. But but these things. But what I'm joking. These things could actually be studied. You could actually, and hey, maybe you stop smoking cigars to get more nocturnal erections. I don't know. I'd hope so. I would imagine that probably would be the case. When it comes to certain specific things, you get with tea being one of them, high blood pressure pills, SSRI antidepressants, or tea, you actually can see whether you can start to look at an end organ and see what the impact is. So when it comes to high blood pressure, which we've talked about before, I'm really concerned about what's going on with the brain, the heart, kidneys. So we know that people who consistently run systolic over 180 or diastolic over 120, these people are really, really in trouble. Yeah. Most people fall into the gray zone, like I did. Like, hey, your blood pressure like 135 over 88. Maybe you should take some. Probably should take some.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. But I would really like to know is it having any impact on my heart, my brain, my kidneys? And we don't know that because it's just association. So now we're back with the penis. So men utilizing this can get a baseline. I mean, before I go out and spend $1,000 a year, you're getting testosterone expensive. Before I go out and spend a lot of money and get what's my baseline? Because if and then we're all an N of one, so we have a lot of guys who men I speak to tend to be. They've heard me speak on podcasts. They know I'm older. They feel more comfortable speaking to me. I've probably spoken to, probably 15, 20 men in their 60s and 70s recently, last few months, who are starting testosterone therapy. And some respond and some don't. They're taking the same dose. You got guys who are in the low normal range, I'd say 250, low 300s, on the same dose. Well, they end up at different places. They end up at 600, 800, 1200. And then what's really the free testosterone? And then what's the impact, end organ impact? Right. So I'm not going to talk about myself to make it subjective. And I will say that some of the men who are using this technology can see, hey, I'm at 1200. My doctor feels it's too high. I should be 800. If I cut back, what's happening to my nocturnal erections?
So that's the primary. We didn't really say, but is that the primary measurement that we're using?
We're measuring the number of nocturnal erections and how long they last and how hard they are, and it can be one during sex. So we're measuring how long and how hard you are during sex. So, so with utilizing this, the guy can say, and again, we talk about morning wood, but one erection in the morning is not enough. Man should be having 3 to 5, and again, you and I are different. You should be having probably one more than me.
Yeah, I have several during the night.
Yeah. But you'll soon be able to know just how many. Yeah. And again, you're really healthy. If for you, and I want to get back to testosterone for a second. For you, this would be valuable just to establish your baseline. Yeah. Just you know your baseline blood pressure, baseline electrocardiogram.
When we talk about it in terms of testosterone too, if you're in your 20s and you're listening to this, go get a blood test.
Yeah.
get your testosterone so you know
So
what
the
it was
baseline.
in your
That's
mid
right.
20s, early 30s.
And your doctor's not going to order for you unless you demand it.
Yeah.
Because they don't consider that to be important.
Well, here we have TriMed. I go to TriMed, they send it to LabCorp, and I've got it, right?
Yeah.
It's $100 for doing it.
So again, so it's the testosterone. We have men who can cut back because they want to keep themselves at these are older guys with 3 nocturnal erections per night. And during sex, we're on a 1 to 10 scale. And these are guys who, heck, if I cut back and I drift down from a 10 to an 8, maybe I've cut back too far. But they can actually start to try to nail down what the right dose is.
Because of other side effects that they're concerned about? What is the, or they just think they have a number in mind and they decide, okay.
They have a number in mind, yeah. Well, we all want to be a 10.
Yeah.
So, can you really go too high with testosterone? I think testosterone is really safe.
Yeah. Well, I describe it on the podcast. We've talked about guys that are doing steroids, right? Like I take my vial is 200 mil or 200 milligrams lasts 7 weeks. Typically for me, I do 1 to 1.2 a week. Twice I split them. These guys are doing that every day, 3 days a week, or that's that.
We had one of our youngest guys. His wife bought him a ring, so she was in her early 30s, and he was in his late 20s. And they wanted to have kids, and they wanted to have an active sex life, and they just had moved, they had their jobs, they're trying to have a baby, blah, blah, and they were attributing all their difficulties in bed or having a child, conceiving, to all these other issues. Yeah. And she heard about the tech ring on a podcast, and she bought it for him. He didn't want to use it. Hey, this guy, you're a bit buff. This guy's super buff. He's in his 20s. He's ripped. He's sent me a picture of himself, V-body, and ripped out of it. And I looked at him and thought, he's probably taking too many steroids. He's probably done. And anyway, his wife, he didn't want to use this. So his wife said, well, if I give you a blowjob, you wear it overnight.
There you go.
Guys,
Yeah. We're so easy. This is why we know that men don't actually rule the world. I say this all the time. Women just let us think that we rule the world.
Yeah. So anyway, he was having 1 week nocturnal. He had a dead dick, and he was just testosterone. He's taking other illicit steroids, and he was
HGH.
He was you got it,
Tren and all that stuff. Yeah,
he was, and they he was one of our first users of the tech ring, and he stopped it. They now have a baby. She's pregnant with their second, and they have an active sex life. And he loves.
He probably didn't lose that much muscle. He probably didn't lose that much muscle.
Yeah, he can't compete anymore. He had to make that mindset change from, well, do I want to have a successful sex life and children, or do I want to be someone that gay guys stare at because I'm really ripped? So he made, my perspective,
the right choice.
So it can benefit younger men. So when I was thinking about T myself, what really was. When I got involved in this, I was speaking to my friends, good friends who vary in age, from guys in the 50s up to late 70s. And everyone's taking tea. And whether they need it or not, from my perspective, they show me the lab test, like, why do you need it? And then, so my thought was, well, okay, I'll take tea. I spoke to my neurologists, and these are people who prescribe tea all the time, but they don't prescribe it objectively because they don't have this. Right. And I said, okay, well, what do you think is going to happen? And then we doctors are more interested in nocturnals because they're at night. They're not influenced by porn, boredom, hot wife, all these alcohol, marijuana, all these things put less factors away sleeping. And they said nocturnals should last longer and get harder. Maybe have an extra one. And there was no change whatsoever because I don't really have ED. I've been asleep, but I don't really have ED. But I was stronger, and that was objective. I went, I have a routine that I do 3 times a week for 50 minutes, and most of it's kind of CrossFit kind of stuff. But there is, like, because I'm a guy, I have to do some bench press, do some curls, And I went from my last set of curls being 45, my last set of curls being 55. Mm-hmm. Well, that was surprising to me. Yeah, I wasn't pushing it.
Yeah,
I hadn't set a goal doing this, and I went from these are small numbers next to you, but I went from bench pressing around 170, bench pressing plus 200,
200 is great because
Yeah.
you probably only weigh
156 pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm 200 pounds. So.
but it was it took me aback actually.
Yeah.
Because I work out. I don't work out to get my heart rate up.
Yeah, but you have some musculature, like you can see.
Yeah.
You've got veins, and I can tell that you actually do
Right.
lift, right?
So,
and you probably have an ass, unlike most 70-year-old men
Yes.
who are concave.
That's
right?
right.
Like that's the
yeah. And that's a real problem for at least other health issues because they lose their PCG muscle tone as well too. Anyway, that's why I still take tea. And subjectively, you probably feel this too. I feel I recover from injury faster.
It absolutely recovery, soreness, all those.
I ride horses aggressively. I live here in Montana. Came back to Centaur, and I just
that requires inner and outer thigh strength. Yeah. Your quads. You're like that's
also,
a lot.
At my age, there's a lot of I get stiff more easily, and I don't have. I get a horse and I get a horse on again the next day and go for another 4 hours. So it doesn't. Those are subjective benefits anyway. So, but we do have men who have erectile. So when I'm talking about fitness dysfunction, I invented the erectile fitness score,
mm-hmm.
and it's a computer interpretation of your nocturnal sexual performance and your sexual performance when you're having sex. And we hope that will become the standard of care.
With a partner or without?
With or without.
Does it make any difference? Okay.
And we will, that will become an objective standard of care. It's going to take 2 or 3 years. We've patented it. There are 4 studies have been published using it. Not published. Presented. They've presented at meetings, accepted publication. Will get published. There are more coming. And that, just the way if you're over the age of 40, 45 and you go for a physical, you get your blood pressure, your numbers. In the future, you're going to know your erectile fitness score because if you're 45 and things deteriorate, you want to see it. You want to be able to see a problem before it becomes a problem down there.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's
so with the tea. Just about the tea, we've had. I don't want to discourage. I didn't get any harder from it because I'm already hard. But we have customers who have determined the right dose and have gone from an erectile fitness score hardness of 6, 7 up to 8 to 10.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a guy I'm very attuned with, what I'm putting in my body. I know how carbs affect me, how too much protein, too little protein. I know what my T level is, all of that stuff. So I love the data aspect of it. I think that's really cool. I always say one of the reasons I work out really hard and testosterone helps is because I do stupid stuff. I make bad decisions. So great. I love the story. So we built it. My wife and I built that shop. There's a 3,400 square foot shop out here that she and I have built every bit of it. So I'm up on a ladder. It's precarious. I should have never put the ladder where it was. And I fell. My leg got caught in the aluminum ladder. And, I was fine. I did not get hurt. Right. I fell like 6 feet. And then I get up and look at the step of the ladder. My quad and my femur bent the ladder.
Well, I guess you're a really strong guy.
My bone strength is great because I lift weights but my and I make bad decisions like that. That's how I'll be a fit 100-year-old.
It must have hurt though, right?
It didn't hurt that badly. That's the thing. And so that injury whereas somebody else, you take a misstep going up the stairs and now you've just shattered your hip, like the top of your femur just snapped. Right. And which is what happens, right? You don't fall and break a hip, you break a hip and fall typically. But yeah, the technology is awesome. I don't know. Did you want to talk about anything else in particular? I think you covered it. How do people learn more about it? Where do they find it? How do they learn more about it? And we may have to do some studies here and then have you back to talk about it.
Maybe we could gamify this. You can get people in mind. And who's the firmest guy in Bozeman? Right now, there are only 3 of us. We can compete with you.
There you go.
We'll set up a dating room. You can give yourself like a fake name, a pseudonym.
There you go. I like that.
You can learn about us at myfirmtech, myfirmtch.com. You can contact me personally at Elliot, ELLIOT, at myfirmtech.com. I usually respond to personal things in the next 2 or 3 days. But I'm interested in helping men. And it's and the companies, we sold 13,000 devices, so we're not so big that I can't talk to people.
Right.
And I'm interested in the diversity of people's experiences and needs. It's been really, actually, speaking to my customers, taught me a lot about what people are actually doing and what
Yeah.
and the failures of the medical profession to address the problems. And if I had to take parting message, it would be, put a ring on it.
Mm.
Put a ring on it so you get data that's vital for your health. These are the vital signs of your sexual health. And what do men care more about? I'm in the age of wearables. What do men care more about? How many steps I took yesterday, or your dick? I mean, I'm talking to myself and you.
I've got a ring on Aura, right? But this isn't doing anything.
That's not anything.
It tells me everything about sleep except for one thing, right?
Okay, well, let's talk about sleep for a moment. So every episode of REM sleep is accompanied by an erection.
Interesting. So my numbers, so this would tell me if my REM are low, if my REM score is low for a given night, that means that they're nocturnal.
Well, I had to order a ring, but I gave it to my daughter. But my correlation. I put more. I'm just one person. My engineers, through 4 guys who have a variety of Aura, Whoop, Fitbit. They were getting about 10% more REM sleep by monitoring their erections than they're getting on a peripheral. What is this really telling you about?
Yeah,
to really measure REM sleep, you have to have an electroencephalogram.
Right.
So this is just an estimation, and my engineers, who are really smart guys, so myself, I'm a lead engineer here in Bozeman, he laughs about the misinformation that he gets off his Aura, and his Whoop. I mean,
it's just a guideline for me.
It's a guideline. I don't want. I think they have their but they're not telling you about an organ, an end organ.
Yeah.
Because that would require actually having electrodes up here.
Yeah.
So put a ring on to get vital data for your health. Put a ring on to perform better.
Yeah.
And to make your partner happier.
Yeah. And talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the big thing. Like for me, I love you coming on and I love this topic because, we do courses and coaching and all that. And like when I have an intimacy course and talk about sex, like I have to start with a diagram, right? Because like, I don't think a lot of men even know what everything does. I've had conversations with, women. They're like, my husband doesn't he literally has no idea what he's doing. He's in his 30s, right? Or 40s or whatever. And it's like, we don't
kind of
talk about it.
It's also something that becomes a woman's fault. Hey, speak up.
Yeah, it's both. It's both, right? Like you have to be able to communicate and you have to be able to have these conversations and have knowledge to know where the clitoris is, what a G-spot is, that substantial women don't even orgasm during intercourse, right? Like
majority don't.
Yeah, majority don't. So you have to use, vibrator, what can we do to...
With the vibrator, they do.
Yeah, what we can do is we can work around that and we can, work with it and all that stuff. So I think...
And also just things change with age. People just need to... there's no way I'm going to go home and have HBA or Game of Thrones sex with my wife. If I picked up my wife and threw her against the wall and banged her for 3 minutes, do you think, I had a fucking mind? Or nor am I going to go home today and my wife's going to tear off my clothes, climb on top of me, and rape me, and we're both going to come in a few minutes. That's just not the real world.
And you aren't able to have penetrative sex in 15 seconds, right? Like
unless you're
in
20 years old.
Yeah, unless you're 20 years old or have a thing full of lube in your pocket, I guess that you're using all the time. But, I think it's great to talk about, and I appreciate you coming.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, man. All right,
good man. Very good.
Thank you.
If you're looking to really maximize your life and become the man you were made to be, head over to maxedoutman.com and get your journey started today.